What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the brand new Paragon board. This is for the Endgame. It just got leaked / Datamine, so keep in mind everything, take it with a little grain of salt, as not everything is going to be true in any Datamine. But it's going to give us a rough idea on how it works, and I'll kind of explain to you guys how it works. And it's different for each class, as there's going to be different nodes depending on the classes that you play. So starting right off, let's go ahead and explain how it works, and then if you guys are looking for certain timestamps, depending on if you're looking for a specific class and you want to see like their special legendary nodes, we'll go over that in a second. But watch this part first, because I'll explain how the glyph socket system works, as it's kind of complex, and we'll also explain how the Paragon board works. So once you reach level 50, you're going to be getting, I believe, several Paragon points per level after that. There's a maximum of 200 Paragon points. I'm sure some of you guys have maybe seen some of the stats that were revealed previously, which would be like +5 to main stat, or some sort of like index, you know, that kind of stuff. But there's also smaller other nodes which will give life, but there are going to be bigger nodes, and there's going to be glyphs. So let me explain how this works. So once you reach, I believe, level 50, you're going to have access to the Paragon starting node. And what your goal is your goal is to reach the door here, which is a gate node, which will allow you to attach another Paragon board. So first off, let's go and explain the Paragon board, and then I'll explain the glyph sockets and what these can do, because these get a little bit more crazy. So starting right off, you're starting off at the very bottom here, and your goal is to work towards the gate. Now, in order to get there, you have to actually path towards it. So some of the nodes are very small, and as far as I'm aware of, you cannot go diagonal. So I'd have to go here, here, here. And some of these nodes, they do have some sort of bonus if you happen to reach a certain threshold. Like right now, it says plus 5% damage if requirements are met. This could be a lot of different things. It could be that you require a certain amount of dexterity, or it could be a certain amount of allocations in a radius, which is kind of like a Path of Exile system. It's pretty complex. We'll talk more about that in a second once I go over glyphs that have something to do with sockets. So we can, we don't need a mouse over every single thing. Most of these are relatively small. Some of the more rare nodes over here, it's just like more stats at the end of the day. But these get a little bit more interesting, and I'll kind of go ahead and just kind of make a quick little path here so you guys can see. And I probably wouldn't take every single point, as your whole goal is to get towards the end of the board so you can get some of the more extreme ones. So I think I actually already pathed out over here. So the ones in yellow are basically our path. And I would suggest making sure you at least hit the glyph socket over here. Now, the glyph socket is important because it's going to be something that you can actually put in your Paragon board. It's like a socketable thing. So what is a glyph? This website over here, Pure Diablo, kind of explains it. So a glyph is, think of it kind of like a legendary gem. If you played Diablo 3, think of it like a legendary gem, because you can upgrade these. So you put these in, and what do they actually do? Let's go ahead and zoom in on how it works. So first off, you can level these up. So all of the numbers inside here that show yellow, these numbers can fluctuate, and they can actually be leveled up. You can see level 3, 8, 15, and here is another screenshot. This one was like, I believe, from like the pre-alpha that they showed off a while ago. But basically, you see all of these glyphs, and they have like a level to them. The more that you put in, the higher the numbers they go. What's max level? I honestly do not know at the moment, but if any of you guys do know, let me know down below. But you can upgrade these. Again, it's very similar to the Diablo 3 gem system, as you're going to be able to get these, and then you start upgrading. And as far as I'm aware of, I don't know if they specified where exactly these drop. I'm guessing anywhere, as they haven't specified. You can only get them from a certain mechanic. But that's basically what a glyph is. So once you unlock this glyph socket, you can then take your item and put it in here. Now, as far as it costing gold to unsocket, I do not have that information for you guys, but there may be some sort of cost if you want to remove it. As far as I'm aware of, you can socket it and you can still upgrade it. I don't think that they'd make it so like you cannot upgrade it while it's already socketed. Like, you don't have to level it up, then socket it in, and be afraid that you would have to remove it and pay some sort of a cost. But basically, some of these nodes, again, they're not going to be super insane. I want to go over the more insane ones, because most of these are just numerical stat changes. Armor, HP, some of them may vary depending on which side that you go, but basically you want to path towards one side. Like, usually what I've seen so far, because I briefly did check this out, there's going to be some stuff that will be brand new for me as well here, but how it works is there's usually one path that leads towards defensive stats and one that leads towards more offensive stats. So you can see this one is damage, this one is armor / dexterity, this one over here is extra resistance and life, and then this one is damage. So basically, you choose the path that you kind of want to go, and they're kind of just more simple. But I also want to mention that in one of the showcasings that they did that they were talking about, glyphs can actually affect a radius. So what I mean by that is, it'll say if you happen to have like 50 dexterity within some sort of a circle. If you've played Path of Exile, think of like the radius like nodes. So basically, you'd be able to get a certain amount of stat, whether it's index, strength. You'll get some extra bonus, which we'll talk about. Like this one over here says bonus 5% damage if requirements are met. That's what it usually is. It could be something different if it's changed, but that's basically what they mean by that. Now, once you get to the end, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So if we get to the gate node, we're going to be able to select a bunch of different Paragon boards. Now, I'm not sure if this game actually has a limit. In here, we could just keep on going with the Paragon boards. Like, I believe you can only attach 4. But again, some stuff is, of course, subject to change. And some of the information that I'm giving you guys is going to be taking it with a grain of salt. So you get to select a bunch of different ones. Now, when you attach a Paragon board, this is how it works. I'm just going to select the first one here so you guys get an idea. So this one says Eldritch Bounty. Now, what does that do? So you can see all of the nodes here. They're pretty much similar to the other ones. They're just plus to main stat, there's extra HP or resistance, very small stats. One of them was like 1% potion healing, which is such a small, minuscule amount. Over the time, of course, it could add up. And there's usually some sort of glyph socket. But the main thing that I want to go over that is going to be the highlight and the most important part of this video is going over the legendary node. So this is what Eldritch Bounty does. Now, as far as I'm aware of, you can select whichever one that you want, and you're going to be able to choose how this Paragon board is oriented. So how it works is you can rotate the Paragon board. So you can see over here, if I click this, it rotates it. So you can see maybe I specifically want to grab this glyph socket first. Maybe I just want to rush this legendary node, which I'm not sure which point, maybe faster, maybe this one will be faster. But then I want to reach another gate over here. So you can see if I path over here. Now, in this mode over here, I can just select the gate and I can select another one. But normally, you would have to pass to the gate. You cannot just go from this gate, put one point into the gate, and be like, I want to attach another Paragon board. That's not actually how it works. So you'll have to actually get the full path. Now, I won't go over all of the pathing nodes. Maybe we'll make a video that goes over like the best pathing node. But I really just want to highlight these legendary nodes in this video. So going over the rogues over, you can see this Eldritch Bounty makes it so when you attack with an imbued skill, you gain 20% resistance and times 20% increased damage for that imbuement's element for 6 seconds. So that's what that legendary node does. Now, I kind of want to use this video to go over all of the important legendary nodes and give you guys the explanation, which I already gave you guys, on how the glyph and socket system works. Because basically, these are going to be pretty much the same on most of the classes. But I want to have this video go over everything, so let's go ahead and get started. So that's what Eldritch Bounty does. This is, I guess, the rogues. Let's go ahead and have it. So this is going to be the timestamp for all the rogues legendary nodes, because some of these you may want to build your character around. Obviously this one's kind of small, but there might be ones that are bigger. I haven't actually checked out all of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just close this Paragon board over here if I can. Let's see, do I have to unspec the point out? And then we're going to go to the next one. I want to check out all of these myself. So as far as the other legendary node over here, we have our marksman skills grant your next cutthroat skill 25% increased damage. Your cutthroat skills grant your next marksman skills to deal 25% increased damage. Okay, so this is basically for a hybrid build. Okay, that's kind of cool. Again, these nodes, there's always going to be a glyph socket, and you just need to eventually get to one part of the end of the tree, and then you can keep on going with all of your points. You can see we've allocated 22 out of 200. But again, just checking out the legendary nodes here is the point of this video. Next up, we have Cheap Shot. So we deal 5% increased damage for each nearby enemy that is crowd controlled up to 25%. Okay, so it's just flat numerical stats. And then now I think we just did Cheap Shot, right? Okay, so next up we are on Deadly Ambush, and we'll do this for every single class here. So after, it says you deal 22.5% increased critical strike damage to enemies affected by your trap skill. So I guess that's more for a trapper build. And let's see what the next one is. So this is Lyrana's Instinct. And the legendary node's over here, and it says when your inner sight gauge becomes full, you gain plus 100% dodge chance for 1.5 seconds. Okay, so just gonna dodge basically a couple of abilities. Then we have Note Witnesses. This makes it so your ultimate skill deals 30% increased damage and grants you 10% increased damage for 20 seconds when cast. Wow. This could be actually pretty big. I wonder how it works with the shadows, because theoretically you can get 80% extra or 80% of your damage, but this would actually make it do more. It'd be 110%, and I don't know if that multiplies times the 10% increased damage, but this one could be pretty big for PvP if you want to do some sort of like a shadow clone build. That one's pretty cool. I like that one. And then next up we have Exploit Weakness. This one makes it so whenever you deal damage to a vulnerable enemy, they take 1% increased damage from you for 6 seconds up to 15%. Okay, so that's what the Exploit Weakness does. Let's see if there's any that are going to completely change up a build, because this is what I was really hoping to see in terms of complexity for the game. Like I said, I haven't seen these. These are brand new to myself as well. So Cunning Strategy Gem. Your non-damage combo points bonuses are increased by 33.334% when you spend 3 combo points. Okay. Non-damage combo points. Huh. That could be interesting. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so that is for the Rogue. Now, I want to cover all the classes. Obviously, we had to do Rogue first. Let's go to Sorcerer next, and then again, I'll put timestamps for any of the classes. So with the Sorcerer, let's go ahead and just put this note in. Again, you'll have to path towards it. If you look at them, it's basically the same sort of setup here. So we'll start off with the Searing Heat. So I'm guessing this one's related to fire. So this legendary node makes so casting Fireball or Meteor Strike or Meteor increases the critical strike chance of further casts of that skill by 5% for 5 seconds up to 15% additional stacks. Do not refresh this timer. Oh, okay, so you can just get extra crit via Fireball or Meteor. Okay, so I think these are supposed to be more like build defining for like maybe specific skills and or playstyle. So Frigid Fate looks probably like a cold one. Dealing cold damage to vulnerable enemies increases your lucky hit chance by 1%. For 5 seconds up to 15%. I don't know why these have a limit. I feel like they should be able to scale like as high as you want to go. It just makes it a little bit more interesting for your build because it has a limit. It kind of limits you obviously on what you maybe want to spec into. Like if you could just put everything into, you know, your lucky hit like modifiers because you can get bonuses on lucky hit, that'd be really good. Maybe 15% chance is high enough, but I think that it would be more interesting. I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on these as well, because this is what I was really hoping to see in Diablo 4 make a huge amount of build potential with the game. So next up we have Static Surge. Stunning close enemies restores 10 mana. Okay, if you can maybe make a stun, okay, this is good. It doesn't have some sort of limit. So now I'm thinking about making a build where we can consistently stun and I can just basically have infinite mana. This is the kind of theory crafting that I was really hoping to see as someone that really enjoys like the crazy stuff that you can do in PoE. But that's Static Surge. For some reason it won't let me click out. Okay, there we go. And then we have Elemental Summoner. Okay, here we go. Your conjuration skills have a 10% reduced cooldown or mana cost per conjuration skill you have equipped. Okay, cool. Again, no limits makes it much more interesting. So now we actually have a build 10% reduced cooldown or mana cost. So does it just select something randomly? I'm kind of curious to see how it works, because if it's 10% CDR and you have what, like 6 skills, 60% CDR and you get cooldown reduction, this could be pretty cool. This is good. So far, I like the Sorcerers the most in terms of how it's designed. Now we have Burning Instinct. So this one makes it so your burning damage is increased by 40% of your critical strike damage, further increased by 5% every 20 intelligence you have. Ooh, okay, this is good. This is, now we're looking at attribute stacking. This is awesome. Rogues was kind of a little bit less interesting, but hey, knowing the info is what I actually wanted to make this video for. So next up we have Icefall. Killing a frozen enemy grants you 15% of your maximum life as barrier for 5 seconds. Ooh, this could be pretty good for tankiness. Yeah. The Sorcerer is definitely looking really cool. Now we have Ceaseless Conduit. Crackling Energy has 25% chance to not consume a charge when triggered. Crackling Energy damage increased by times 2% per 20 intelligence you have. Again, stacking is cool. Now we have something that we can make a build around, potentially. Enchantment Master. So this one makes it so your enchantments are 20% longer, or stronger. This is where you get to basically select a skill. Okay, this could be pretty cool too. And by the way, you don't only get to pick one of these. You can have multiple Paragon boards. I believe, since that's 200, I'm guessing it's like, I believe what they showed off at one point was 4 attachments to the board. In here, I believe you can attach like as many as you want, because it's not like, this is not the actual game. So it's just kind of a little like tool that we have. But remember, you can select multiple of these. So that is going to be the Sorcerer one. So far, I like the Sorcerer so much more. Next up, let's check out Barb over here. So with Barbarian. So let's go ahead and see what Barbs get. We get Hemorrhage. This is like some bleed. Okay. Enemies that have been affected by your bleeding for 3 more seconds take 15% increased damage from you. Okay, so another damage multiplier. And let's see what the next one is. We have Blood Rage. Blood Rage makes it so killing an bleeding enemy has a 12% chance to grant Berserking. Ooh, okay, this could be pretty good. Berserking is actually a pretty good stat. Like, a lot of times you want to make builds around specifically keeping Berserk up like 100% of the time. And it is indeed, I want to say, possible. Next up, we have Carnage. Carnage makes it so while Berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed by 2% up to 10%. So you get up to 10% attack speed. Okay, if it didn't have any scaling, maybe up to like 100%. That would be like something, again, way cooler. Because then you'd want to scale crit and you can get insane amount. Decimator over here. Lucky hit, two-handed slashing weapon attacks have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Okay, most builds will have some sort of form of vulnerable anyways, so we'll see if that's going to be, that was Decimator, right? Okay, so next up after Decimator, we've got Bone Breaker, which is over here. And remember, you can rotate all of these trees. I'm just not going to bother rotating because we're just here to check out all the legendaries. Overpower with your 200 bludgeoning weapon, stun enemies for some sort of duration, and grant you % of your maximum life is fortified. This one is pretty cool, and I think that this one could be very good as well. Again, it kind of depends on how you want to build your character, but fortification is definitely going to be required if you want to play Barbarian at maximum efficiency, I would say. Flawless Technique, though. Damaging enemies with one-handed weapons increases your critical strike chance by 1% for 2 seconds, up to 5%. This can only happen once per skill cast or twice per second while channeling Whirlwind. Okay, so, I mean, up to 5% crit as a legendary node. I feel like if it didn't have that limit, this would, again, another one where I feel like they should have went the Sorcerer route and just didn't put a cap on it. But that one was Flawless Technique. And then we have Warbringer. For every 75 Fury you spend, gain 20% of your maximum life as fortified. Okay, so there's a lot of tankiness with these legendary Barb nodes, for sure. And then we have Weapons Master, which is over here. Swapping weapons grants you 3 Fury. So basically, just swapping between different skills. This could be pretty big. This is again, probably one of the ones that I actually think is pretty cool as well. Probably one of my favorite ones, because if you just keep on rotating between weapons, if you have extra free generation, I think that this one will be probably one of the better ones if you can continuously just swap. So those were the Barbarian ones. Next up, we've got the Druid. All right, so let's see what the Druid gets. We have Thunderstruck. So Storm skills deal 30% increased critical strike damage against vulnerable or immobilized enemies. And then the second one, Earthen Devastation. Your Earth skills have a 30% increased damage to enemies affected by crowd control. Okay, so another damage multiplier. Survival Instincts. While in Werebear form, you deal 1% increased damage up to 50% for every 1% difference in current life percent between you and the enemy. Oh, okay. I'm wondering if you can start making a low life build. This is where, again, I like this idea. This is cool. And on top of that, it gets stronger, potentially, if you make your build around that. That's really cool. Next up, we have Lust for Carnage. Critical strikes with werewolf skills restore 2 spirit. Okay, I would say 2 spirit is relatively small, isn't it? Heightened Malice. While there are 3 or more poison enemies nearby, you deal 45% increased damage, so maybe for a poison build. And then we have Inner Beast. After shapeshifting, your spirit costs are reduced by 10% for 5 seconds, up to 30%. So if you constantly, shift up to a bunch of different forms, some resource cost reduction, 30%, that could be pretty big. That was Inner Beast, right? Okay, yeah, that was Inner Beast. And then next up, we have Constricting Tendrils. Lucky hit, nature magic skills have up to a 15% chance to entangle the enemy with vines, immobilizing them for 2 seconds and poisoning for 120% of the base damage dealt over 4 seconds. Okay, I like that. I think this is a little bit more interesting, especially for a PvP. This could be pretty big if you happen to proc it, since it doesn't have some sort of like internal is effect can only activate once every 20 or 30 seconds. If it has no cooldown, I mean, if you just stack up a bunch of nature magic and a bunch of attack speed, that could be pretty nasty, especially if you can maybe refresh it while they're already entangled. Pretty cool stuff indeed. But that one was definitely pretty good. And then over here we have Ancestral Guidance. After spending 75 spirit, you deal 30% increased damage for 5 seconds. Okay, so that was the Druid. Next up we have the fan favorite. Hopefully the last will be the best. We've got the Necromancer, so let's check these ones out as well. So we've got the Cult Leader, so maybe a Summoner. So your minions deal 10% increased damage for each minion type you have active. This only applies to the minion types Skeletal Warrior, Skeletal Mage, and Golem. So I'm guessing it goes up to 30% increased damage. That's good. I would say that's probably going to be like a no-brainer for most Necromancer builds, as most people like the Summoner. Next up, we have Hulking Monstrosity. Our Golem has 30% increased maximum life and deals 30% increased damage. Okay, cool. I wonder if these are going to be multiplicative with all of the other modifiers, because that'd be like 60% increased damage. Just with those two nodes, just for Golem right there. Flesh Eater consuming 5 corpses grants 40% increased damage for 6 seconds. Oh my gosh, the corpse explosion with the Blood Mist build. It's not that difficult to consume 5 corpses. This might be one of the best nodes in the entire game, considering it doesn't say up to a maximum. So if I'm going to continuously consume corpses and just activate it, oh my gosh, Flesh Eater, absolutely insane. If you guys have seen that legendary with Blood Mist, you know what I'm talking about. This thing is probably going to be the best node in the entire game, because it has no cap. Everything else, if you saw with Rogue, everything was capped. Same thing with a lot of things on Barb. Yeah, this is Flesh Eater, probably one of the best nodes in the game so far. Scent of Death. With at least 2 corpses nearby, you gain 15% damage reduction. With no corpses nearby, you deal 15% increased damage. I mean, either way, you're getting some bonus. I think this is going to be a no-brainer. Remember, I believe you can get up to like 4 at least for most of these. Okay, that was Scent of Death. That was the okay. We either take or deal more damage. Next up, we have Bone Graft. Hitting enemies with bone skills increases your damage by 1% and your maximum essence by 3 for 8 seconds. Stacks up to 7.5% increased damage and 22.5 maximum essence. Okay, like I said, it's a little bit less interesting when they cap you, because yeah, like I said, that other one, the consuming corpses, because it consumes all the corpses, you could maybe get to, like, I don't know, like, someone's going to make a YouTube video and get, like, thousands of percent increased damage with that corpse skill, legendary node. So that's Bone Graft. Next up, over here, we have Blood Begets Blood. So this one makes so Blood Orbs grant 5% increased damage up to 15% for 5 seconds. So maximum 15%. Like, the other one's 40% and it has no cap. Crazy. All right. Next up, we have Blood Bath. So it says attacks that are guaranteed to overpower deal 50% increased overpower damage. I believe with the Blood Nova, there's like every 4th cast gets that guaranteed to overpower. I mean, 50% increased overpower damage can be pretty good. So this might be good for certain builds if you can get a lot of overpower. And then we have, I believe this is the final one, Wither. So this makes so your shadow damage over time effects have a 5% chance to deal 50% bonus damage each time they deal damage. This chance is increased by 1% and the bonus damage increased by 2.5 for each 50 willpower you have. Okay, so again, I like it when you can start stacking and making builds around specific legendary nodes. Okay, so I'm also curious to know down below, guys, which class you guys think has the best legendary nodes. I can tell you for sure, Necromancer #1 spot for me, the Sorcerer in the #2 spot in terms of like how fun it's going to be. A lot of these do have a lot of limitations, but this is part of the endgame experience. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and learned something new. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. And if you do want to see more Diablo 4 content in the future, make sure you guys are subbed with the bell notification on, and you'll definitely see more. Take care, and I'm seeing you in the next video. Peace out.